And so here we go, as it says. Don't know who's out there or if anyone's out there just yet. This is sort of an impromptu, as it were, live stream here on Open by Chance. Take an opportunity here to discuss the takeaways from the ATL Comic Con, which my wife and I attended this past weekend. We actually ended up being there 2 days, and then 2 out of 3. And then, of course, as many of you are aware by now, because it started coming down the pipe as of sometime this afternoon, that Ozzy Osbourne is gone, as is Malcolm Jamal Warner, actually, who drowned the other day at the age of, what was it, 54, the age of 54. And I see Blue Splash is with us today. Greetings and salutations. Greetings and salutations. LPH is not here. LPH is at work. So she is not here today. It's just me. You're stuck with me as I prattle on. I'll give people a chance to come in, to sign in. Because, like I said, it wasn't a scheduled live stream. Typically, if we do a live stream on Open by Chance, a lot of you are aware, it will be probably on Saturday evening most of the time. But just decided to throw one out there just for the hell of it. See who's out there. So like I said, I'll give people a chance to start coming in here a little bit before we get going on any discussion. And we're sitting here right now in the lounge area, as it were, the Open by Chance lounge room area, where we have video games and vintage cartoons and comic books and things like that in this room. And then, of course, the next room over is Toy Room 1. Toy Room 1, followed by Toy Rooms 2 and 3. Although 2 and 3 are not set up yet. I'm sure a lot of you are aware. We just moved here not too long ago. So got to start from scratch. And Road Pig has joined us. Thanks for coming in today. And I see some other people are watching, but have elected not to say anything, at least not yet. That's okay. Sometimes you can't. Or sometimes it's complicated if you're watching on your phone and things like that. I get it. Oh, the next show, of course, that we'll be attending is the Retro Toy Swap in Powder Springs. So the Retro Toy Swap in Powder Springs is the very next show that we'll be attending, which is Saturday, August 2nd. So not this Saturday coming, but the Saturday after. The Saturday after is the Retro Toy Swap, which we will go, and I'll film that as a live walkthrough. And then August, September. It's going to be the weekend of September 20th, I believe, is the Joe Lanta. So we'll be out there doing a live walkthrough of that as well. Not sure if we're going to make it to any other shows other than those two anytime soon. And Blue Splash says, going to a vintage toy show this weekend. Hope to find some heavy hitters. That'd be good. And Silos is here, and that is Carlos. And Carlos is a vendor. And you might have seen Carlos if you saw Plastic Crack. You might have seen, I believe Carlos was involved with Plastic Crack. I still have not seen that. I still have not seen that, the Plastic Crack show, but I've seen Carlos at several shows. And Bump is here. He says Ozzy was and is epic, because that is one of the topics of discussion. Paul is joining us. And there you go. CeeLo said, yes, sir, first episode. Okay. Yeah, I still haven't seen Plastic Crack. I still haven't seen it. And then poor Justice got in trouble for airing his episode of, oh, what is it? Collector's Choice. He got in trouble for that, didn't he? And Jesse Say What is here. Glad you could make it and join us today. So again, a couple of things that we'll be talking about here, and LPH is not here, is, of course, Ozzy just passed away. And then some people had mentioned some things that I had said like a week ago about Ozzy, and apparently it was predictive programming, but I'll get to that. And then, of course, the takeaways from the ATL Comic Convention, not to be confused with the Atlanta Comic Con, the Atlanta Comic Convention that's at the Marriott in Atlanta. This is the ATL Comic Con that is part of the Fan X or Fan Expo. Silos says he's also in season 2, but it's not been released yet. Okay. And JG is here, as well as John McJunkin. Glad you could join us. Blue Splash says, I want to hear what you said about him. It was on a live stream a couple of weeks ago, right after he had died. But yeah, we'll get to that. Hold on, let me get my badge here. This is the, right over here. This is my press pass. So just a wrist strap, that's all it is, from the ATL Comic Convention. That's the Atlanta Comic Convention, okay? And it's Fan X, and this connection, it says Indiana Comic Con, ATL Comic Con, Tampa Bay Comic Con, and so on. 2025, and the gold label is like the press pass / content creator badge, whatever you want to call it. You don't get like a really nice lanyard like you do with Toy Lanta or Joe Lanta or something like that. Because like my Toy Lanta badge, or Joe Lanta, excuse me, Joe Lanta. Look at my my Joe Lanta press pass. That's pretty cool. So you get a wrist strap, and the wrist strap, they had a really hard time even finding it. If you saw those lives, they had a really hard time. You had a really hard time even finding it, because the person, it was in envelopes in a box, and the person that was sifting through the box wasn't able to read the handwriting on the envelopes. Took them like 20 minutes to find my badges when I got there. And Road Pig says Super 7's releasing 3 SDCC album figure pack with color variants of Zartan, Cold Deliver, and the albums have different tracks. Walmart, Big Bad Toy Store, and Super 7. Really? LPH ordered one from somewhere. She ordered one of the SDCC Cold Slither albums, record albums, from the band that's doing it. That's doing the live performances. Now, as for the let me see. Talking about either or, Ozzy Osbourne. All right. Now, what I had said about Ozzy was I didn't watch the concert. I didn't rent the concert. I know it was available on pay-per-view or something, right? I didn't see it, but I did see clips of it after the fact. And just being completely honest, and get mad if you want to, he looked and sounded really bad. Okay? He was intelligible, and they really drowned him out with the music and with the audience. But where you could hear him, he couldn't carry his voice, and he was out of tune, and he didn't sound good. And I was like, "Woo, that's just awful." It's hard to watch. Actually, he had Parkinson's really bad. He's in the chair. He can't get up. Most of the concert was tributes, and he was having a really hard time. You could tell. But but then he gets to Mama, I'm Coming Home. And some of you might remember me talking about this, okay? He gets to Mama, I'm Coming Home. And they let him just kind of go with it. And again, he was he was off key, had trouble carrying his voice, but was still really emoting with his voice. It was emotional. And you could pick that up in the crowd. Yeah, correct, Blue Splash, the concert that was in England just a couple of weeks ago, the benefit concert. Something in it felt like he was really brokenhearted. If you go back and you watch those clips, the other songs, he sounded awful when you could hear him. Mama, I'm Coming Home, it wasn't it wasn't great, but it was emotional. And you could actually see people in the audience crying. And I was looking at that and I was like, I don't know if you're going to see him again. That sounds to me almost like his own swan song, like he knows he's done. And what I had speculated, though, was that the next time you see Ozzy or next time you hear about him, it's going to be something tragic. It's going to be like the last time you heard about Bruce Willis. Suddenly, one minute he's starring in a film, the next minute, oh, he can't discern language, and you'll never see him again. Or Terry Funk. One minute he's running around doing the autograph circuit, the next minute he's in a hospice and doesn't even recognize himself in the mirror. And I was like, yeah, something bad's going to happen. The next time you hear about Ozzy, it's going to be bad, which apparently that was correct because now he's deceased. And I wonder if he kind of just gave up. You know, sometimes when you feel like you have nothing left to do, your body just kind of fails. Does that make sense? You feel like there's nothing left for you to do. Whatever it was you thought you were going to do, those tasks that you're focused on keep you going. And without that, everything else just kind of falls apart. And Austin wants to know about the ATL convention. Yeah, I'm going to talk about that ad nauseum here in a little bit. And Rock Bottom likes the new toy room. Well, this is more like the lounge. Or have you seen the other videos that I put up? I'm almost at a point where I can do like a tour of just the first room, but room 2 is not ready. But this is just the lounge right now. And here's Lee joining us. Blue Splash said, kind of like Ultimate Warrior's Raw speech, like his life was over. And John said, felt sorry for him, how MTV did him wrong on his show, how they used his family against him in many ways. Very tragic indeed. Yeah. Well, I mean, he was exploited one more time. He allowed it. He allowed it, but basically he was exploited for that benefit concert because he shouldn't have been up there. And I said that at the time. It was like he can't do it. He can't do it, and he shouldn't be out there. Same as Frankie Valli, who's on tour right now and isn't singing, who can't sing, who's lip syncing when he's not asleep on stage and has fallen asleep even standing up. It's creepy. They're tormenting this man. Austin wants to know where LPH is. LPH is away on business. Well, her company is having a conference and she had to attend. Richard said, I knew an old timer who retired and died 6 months later. You often hear that. That sometimes people, they retire and they got nothing and they just kind of fade away. Or a spouse dies and then a couple of months later, the other one dies because they feel like they've got nothing left. And that could be, I mean, he could have just, his body just couldn't keep up anymore. he was already in terrible condition. And it was just like, well, yeah, I got to feel that crowd one last time. I don't know if I got anything else to do. And that encouraged him to just let his body fail. You know what I mean? Yeah, and JG says that. I heard a lot of people saying Ozzy should not have been on stage anymore. No, he should have long since been retired, like most of these aged rock stars right now. He should not have been on stage. Like I said, he couldn't move. He was in the seat. He could not carry the tune. He could not project his voice, although he tried, and sounded really bad. Sounded bad. Again, as I just expressed, when he's saying, Mama, I'm coming home, that hit different because even though he didn't sound good, he projected a lot of emotion there. And that's why I had speculated when I heard that next time we hear about Ozzy, it's going to be a tragedy. He's going to be in a hospice or something. Something bad's going to happen to him, and we'll not see him again. And evidently, I was correct, although it went a lot further than just hospice care. He's just gone. He's just gone. 70s says, how long before Sharon goes broke now? The money guy has passed. No idea. And Saturday Morning Fan is joining us. Blue Splash said that's what happened to Stan Lee. He was grieving after his wife died. Then he died not too long after. And Stan Lee is another one that was being very terribly exploited. Very terribly exploited. Even the guy who did that so-called documentary is exploiting him, taking advantage. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? It happens to a lot of these people, and I've seen it for many, many years, especially as many conventions as I've been to, going all the way back to the 90s, early 90s. I used to hear a lot of complaints about that, about older celebrities or especially athletes that are on the autograph circuit, how their families are just dragging them out there and autograph milling their parents and running them down, and that they're not getting much, if anything, out of it. Kind of like what you heard about Nichelle Nichols after Nichelle Nichols had passed away, and the family had expressed literally that if you got an autograph from her in the last 2 years of her life, she probably didn't see a dime of it. She was getting ripped off. She was getting ripped off. But yeah, I mean, this is a man who should not have been out there for that concert. They rolled him out anyways. He could not carry the tune. He sounded pretty bad. Again, Mama, I'm coming home, very emotional. Very emotional. But maybe he knew something there. And that's why it was so emotional. Because, like I said, even though he sounded bad and off key and couldn't project his voice, it was done in a way that it had an emotional toll on the audience. There were people in the audience that were literally crying because they could sense that emotion coming from him. And that's why I had speculated that, again, the next time we hear about Ozzy Osbourne, it's not going to be good. It's not going to be good. And true to form, they announced his death this afternoon, that he had passed away. And like I said, maybe that was it. Maybe he wanted to taste the crowd that last time. And afterwards, as they say in classical literature, that he looked out upon the breadth of his domain and wept, for there were no more worlds to conquer. Taken from Alexandria. Or who was that? Who was that? I forget the name of the story that's from. Lee says he saw Ozzy the other day, didn't think he'd last long. Sadly, no. He was in terrible shape. And they shouldn't have brought him out. They shouldn't have brought him out. And then, of course, Malcolm Jamal. Yeah, thank you, John. Alexander the Great. That's what it was. Couldn't pull the name out. I kept wanting to say Alex, and I'm like, no, that ain't right. Saturday morning thinks Ozzy wanted to rock out one more time. David Bowie did the same, wanted one more rock before his death, and got it. And again, some of them, they're cheating people and they're cheating themselves. Like I said, I mentioned Frankie Valli. Frankie Valli sounds terrible right now. Bruce Springsteen is terrible, and charging a fortune. And Kiss miming their act. That the last time they went on tour, not only were they not singing, they weren't even playing the instruments. It was a complete mime act, and they got caught. Pat Benatar not carrying a tune. It sounds like she is, but that's because there's a ghost singer. And what that is, I've explained this before because it came up once before. Backstage is a professional singer that sounds like her, and they're both singing the sets at the exact same time. And when she gets to a note she can't carry anymore, the guy in the booth swaps them, turns the dials, and switches them out so that it sounds like it's Pat Benatar, but it's not. So she's cheating people. Hell, when Kiss retired, they sold their catalog, so they don't even care about their own music. It's incredible. John says Elvis was the first big entertainer going out performing to the end. Yeah. Elvis died very badly, unfortunately. Very badly. A 70s meets the 80s said, thank you for explaining the emergency rookie SWAT stuff the other day. No one has a definitive video on the figures. No, well, probably no one has a set of them. it's so hard. I mean, I could probably get everything loose, but I don't want it loose. I want it carded. But yeah, a lot of people don't understand what a big can of worms that set is, how hard it can be to finish. But yeah, no problem, 70s. No problem. Saturday Morning says Madonna said she won't sing her early 80s songs anymore because you need a young voice to sing them. Fair enough. She ought not to be doing anything anymore, Madonna. I never thought she was personally never thought she was that great anyway, but she ought not to be singing anything anymore. And again, Malcolm Jamal Warner, who really hasn't done, I don't think, too much since The Cosby Show. I know he was on Sesame Street for a while. He tried to go that route, and he was on a couple of like mediocre TV shows. One post-apocalyptic show that had a couple of seasons, nothing major. But yeah, some family outing or something, and he got caught in an undertow and drowned. Really bad. I mean, what a way to go. That's awful. That's awful. But he's never been as big as he was when he was on the Cosby Show. But I mean, still, that's really unfortunate. That's really unfortunate for him. And I know everybody, a few people, not everybody, was asking about the ATL Comic Convention. And there it is, ATL Comic Convention, my press badge from ATL Comic Convention. So, I'm not wanting to just crap on them. Some of you know, if you watched the live walkthrough, I did 2 live walkthroughs, okay? I did 2 live walkthroughs. One on Friday, where I was able to get in early, okay? I was able to get in early. And then on Sunday, I was able to, I came back because I needed to meet with a vendor. One of the comic vendors that was there wanted me to press and clean some vintage comic books for him. He really nice golden age stuff that he has that he's hoping if I clean them up, they'll get a nice little grade bump, which they are. I've already been working on them and they look great. They look great. You know, these books are like 80 plus years old, and there was a lot of potential, and he knew it, and he was hoping he would run into me out there, and so I was like, yeah, I'll come back on Sunday and pick them up. So two live walkthroughs that I did at the ATL Comic Convention. not to be confused again with the Atlanta Comic Con, which is different, just named the same. And that's probably the reason why Fan Expo calls it ATL Comic Con instead of Atlanta Comic Con, because Atlanta Comic Con has been around for more than 30 years. I think this is their 30th year, actually. 30 years. So they can't take it. They got to call themselves something else. Okay. So, first impression, it is a very big show. It is a very big show. You saw the live walkthrough, many of you. And I did get in trouble. I did get in trouble. I wouldn't be the king if I didn't. And it's okay. It wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad, but it did throw me when they came and tried to stop me filming. But I got in early. I did my walkthrough. Some of you were able to join me on that day, and some of you saw after the fact. I will tell you that I really, first impression, I have a problem with them calling it a Comic Con, because it's not. It is not a comic convention. It may have started out as one, but it's not anymore. Not with like 300-400 vendors and 6 of them have comic books. And the one vendor told me that's more than showed up last year. Last year, I think it was like 4. Okay. And Chiquita is here. Chiquita News, Chiquita Banana, joining us today. So I'm like, this isn't a Comic Con. There's 3 toy vendors. One has vintage, the rest have modern. And then like 6 or 8 pop vendors, big ones, which I haven't seen that many at a show in years. Okay. And Patrick has joined us. Hi, Patrick. Again, impromptu live, so I don't know how many people were notified, but we'll see. We'll see who shows up today. So I'm like, this is not a Comic Con. This is not a Comic Con. To me, if I go to a Comic Con, I expect to see comic books. That's what I expect to see. And I didn't. Although the vendors that did show up brought some decent stuff, it's not a Comic Con. It's more like a fan service con. And Logic Blaster is here. Says, love the channel. Will continue to support you. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. And Chiquita wants to know if I remember the Chiquita commercials. Yes, I do. I've got a block of vintage. They're really not even commercials. They're actually movie shorts. They're like Tom and Jerry and Our Gang and stuff like that. Those were played in movie theaters before television. But yeah, those are fun and crazy. But it's not a Comic Con. It's a fan service con, and I don't like fan service. It's kind of like Ghostbusters. They had the Ghostbusters Afterlife, and people that when you ask somebody about that film, or when I've asked someone about that film and said, "Hey, what did you think of it?" Their answer is something like, "It was okay. It had a lot of fan service." Do you want fan service or a good story? Do you want fan service or a good convention? It's fan service, and I just, it doesn't sit well with me. It was easily 95% or better Artist Alley. Knickknacks and pin buttons and cosplay array and posters and just flea market stuff, woodworking tools. There was vendors there selling fudge. There was vendors there selling hot sauce. I don't go to a comic convention and expect to walk away with a bottle of hot sauce. You see what I'm saying? But to these promoters, all of you whether you're into whatever, movies, nostalgia, television, comic books, toys, whatever your bag is. They roll you up into a tight little ball and then sling you right down the alley to knock down pins. And as long as they're getting paid, they don't care. They don't care. Raccoon has joined us, and that's the feel that I got there. Like, yeah, they just lumped this together. They took every contract that came down the pipe. You want a table? No problem. What are you selling? We don't care. Well, I don't even want to know what you're selling. Here's a table, however much it is. And it reminds me, and I've mentioned this a few times in the past, of Bud Plant. You can look up Bud Plant on Facebook, and he is a big old school comic vendor, and he attended 48 SDCCs. He's one of the originators. He's one of the old school first guy in line originators at San Diego Comic Con. Okay, 48 years in a row. He wanted to retire at 50 years at SDCC, couldn't do it because he said, I can't be paying 5,000 plus for a table and making no money because it's not a Comic Con anymore. Those days are over. I don't know what they're doing now. I don't know what they're doing now. Saturday Morning says our Comic Con has oddball stuff sold too, but they tend to be themed to comics, anime, or action figures. And Chiquita's asking about the Chiquita videos again, if I can add more. If there's any that are intact, the reason that I left a couple out from that block is because a handful of the surviving movie shorts of Chiquita Banana commercials are in such bad condition that you almost would not be able to tell what you're looking at. No one restores that stuff. So it's in terrible condition, most of them. And when we were on the live, my wife and I, and again, somebody asked me a little while ago, where is LPH? Again, LPH is at a conference for her job. So she is out of town right now. And again, this wasn't a scheduled live. So, we'll see who pops in here. But my big takeaways, what I thought was the most interesting was the kit. They had a replica kit that looked really good, but I wasn't going to pay to take a picture of it. But it looked really good. Some of the other cars that were there, like the Ghostbusters car, it made it look like it needed to be towed there. It was in terrible shape. But the kit car looked fantastic. The Gachi vendor, because you don't see Japanese vending machines in the States hardly ever. And I thought that was really different and interesting. A couple of the comic vendors, like Mario's was out there, Cherry Pickers was out there, had some great stuff on the wall books. Celebrity stuff, I couldn't film the celebrity stuff. I got in trouble, if you recall. Okay. And Lee wants to know how the cats are doing. Cats are doing great. I still have not been able to catch Spice. And I went out and I actually got a trap for him and set it up, and he won't use it. And I do not want to leave any of them behind. And he's the only one left. Spice is the only cat left over there, and I can't get him. And it's been weeks I've been trying. And I'm like, oh my God, I got to get him. I got to get him because it's an ethical thing for me. I've taken up the mantle of caring for these animals. I've been caring for stray and feral and abandoned and wounded cats for years, and I don't let it go. I latch on, and we do pet adoptions through agencies, and we do other things. We get them TNVR'd, and we take really good care of them, actually. But I'm not just going to up and move and leave any of them. and I got everybody but him, and he's just being a pain in the butt. The rest of them are here. I've had a couple of adoptions of suitable cats, but everybody else is here. So there's 5 in the house, 5 outside the house, and an outdoor enclosure adapting to the new environment. Okay. And then the new one that's turned up that I think had kittens that I've been feeding and taking care of her and trying to figure out where her den is in case she does have kittens, because I want to check them out and make sure they're okay. Kittens born in the wild tend to get eye infections, and if they don't clear up or they're not treated, that eye infection will lead to blindness. And a blind cat in the wild is as good as dead. So I've got to so I gotta find her. I gotta find her and figure out where that is, and I gotta catch Spice. Spice is the name of the cat that is left behind. Feral is all get up. Um, one of those cats that doesn't get within 10 feet of you, because doesn't trust me like that. But it's okay. I'll still help him, but I gotta find him. And John suggests some of the conventions are not worth the price they charge. There was one of these conventions where they were going to have conference calls and faxed autograph signings with SNL cast members. Oh my God. But yeah, I could not film there. And some of you were on the live and saw what happened. People were mad that that happened to me, actually. I've heard a few messages from that, like, hey, that's bullshit. You're there actually promoting them, which is true. I'm promoting them. In theory, they give me a press pass. I've been hired to come and film that show. I'm not going to pander to the show, as you can tell, because I'm telling you that I didn't care for the show. But I'll come and film it, and I'll do what I'm supposed to do. And part of that was showing people who's there. Now, that when I went through the first time, no one was set up, so I was showing, hey, here's who's going to be here. They had 80 celebrity guests, official. Okay. I didn't recognize most of them, but that's neither here or there. All right. When I had gone by the second time, they were starting to set up, and my idea was, oh, well, I'll look and see how these are lining up. I wasn't looking for celebrities. I was looking to see how the lines were forming, because they had let the early birds in. And if you saw that on the film, the early birds rushed in. They had like 500 people standing in a block there that had early bird passes. So they waited in line outside to wait in line inside to run and wait in line at the celebrity booths. Yeah, sounds brilliant. But I wanted to see, oh, I wonder who's getting the most people in line, because nobody was out there yet except for like Lou Ferrigno. I think that was Lou Ferrigno. And then, when I walk by there, the guy runs up in the pink shirt, staff. No, don't film over here. Okay, sorry, no problem. But then the security person came up behind me like a minute later and told me I needed to delete my footage. So I'm not deleting shit. I was like, yeah, right. Okay, that's going to happen. This is live. There's no deleting this. There's no deleting this. This is live. And I thought that was kind of silly. And I've never encountered that. I have never encountered that at any of the shows that I've ever been to, having them try to stop me from filming wherever their celebrity guests were. That's the first time that I've ever run into that. And I'm trying to see ATL Comic Convention, the World Trade Center. Okay. The event has passed. I was trying to find out. I wanted to look and see what they were charging for this event. I don't know what they were charging for this event. I know the parking was $11.50 a day. It won't tell me now because the event's over. But I was curious what they I was curious what the tickets were. I don't think it was cheap. And also, when I look at these shows, I think of them as an entire wraparound. You're not just buying the ticket. You're paying for your parking, you're paying for your travel time, you're paying for your meals. If you're traveled a great distance, you might be paying for hotel, you're paying for fuel for your car. Whatever you're paying for, you're paying much more. And Tuck is here. He said stop by to say hello. Blue Splash said Hulk Hogan isn't doing well either. None of those wrestlers are. None of those wrestlers are. They're in very bad shape. They abused their bodies, some of them for decades. What's his name is in pretty bad condition too. Ric Flair. He looks awful. And he didn't show up either. He was on the venue for ATL Comic Con and didn't come. Canceled. He canceled. Said he wasn't going to. His promoter said he wasn't going to make it. And then, of course, you all heard about Buff Bagwell. We talked about that in the last live stream. Lost his right leg from the hip down. They took it off above the knee, but way above the knee. They took practically his whole leg, which never fully recovered from the accident that he was in here in Georgia, where he was loaded and passed out behind the wheel and crashed through a brick wall. Unfortunately. But yeah, they all, there's a lot of tragedy in wrestling. A lot of tragedy in wrestling, unfortunately. They abuse themselves pretty badly. And even more so nowadays, I think. They're doing it because they're trying so hard to be over the top with some of the stunts that they perform. And they make a lot of mistakes. A lot of mistakes. So what John says here, it's safe to say that by the time you pay for travel, hotel stay, parking fees, food passes, tickets, and so on, you've invested a fortune into the cons. Yeah, you got to be careful. You got to make sure it's what you want. This is not something I think I would go back to. If they contacted me and offered me press passes again next year, I'm not sure we're going to go. I don't think we probably won't go. It'd be like, you know what? Thanks, but I don't know if we're going to do it. Because we just didn't get anything out of it. And if it wasn't for the vendor wanting me to do some pressing and cleaning work for him, I probably would not have, I definitely would not have returned on Sunday. Because it's a 3-day pass and they encourage you to come all 3 days. And after the first day, my wife and I looked at each other and we were like, I don't want to come back tomorrow. I don't think we're going to do it. And so, like I said, though, I do clean and press comics. I worked on all these on this rack. I pressed and cleaned all of those. And most of my clients, the majority of my clientele for pressing and cleaning are comic vendors who want a bump in grade on high profile books so that they can get a better price for them or submit them for grading. I don't have too many people who are just a collector who are like who send me books. Rarely, mostly it's vendors. And when he saw me at the show, he was like, "Hey man, I got some great golden age stuff," and I'll put a few of them up on Instagram that I'm working on. I got a couple that came out real nice, and it's like I said, these are like 80 years old. Couple of really nice war era Silver Surfers, or not Silver Surfer, excuse me, Submariner. Couple of war era Submariners with with the one staple and some stuff like that. Really pretty books. I wish they were mine. Wish they were mine. Um, Chiquita said Moviecraft, Film Archive, Film Archive, Chiquita Banana, and commercial that he reviewed it. I did not see that. I'm not sure who Moviecraft Film Archive is, so I have not seen that. Tuck said hitting a building in a car is not as survivable as Hollywood shows. An old neighbor's daughter was married, and her boyfriend, her and her boyfriend were killed when they went airborne into a Publix. Interesting, interesting. But yeah, I mean, he had some real bad chronic injuries to his right leg, and the surgeries to try to restore it just made things worse. And ultimately, the only option left was amputation after 5 years of botched surgeries. John says, talking about ATL, I guess, ATL Comic Con, the way they treated you both as though you were an annoyance instead of the very people trying to help promote them in the first place. That's so wrong of them. Like I said, I've never encountered that before where walking by the celebrity space was a problem. And again, no one was out there. Plus, I was like 20 yards away. I was like 20 yards away. If I photographed or filmed, there's nothing that I can gain from a picture of Lou Ferrigno, and he's like this big. You know, what good does that do me? What can I do with that? Basically nothing. I don't really get the whole autograph thing, anyways. I used to be more into it, but again, my era of autographs growing up in the 90s. I mean, not growing up in the 90s, but going to conventions mostly in the 90s and working shows and being part of Great Eastern conventions and stuff like that back on the East Coast. Um, they were free. They didn't charge you for autographs back then. Or if they did, it was like $5. Or if there was an artist there and you wanted to get them to do a sketch for you, it'd be like 10 or 20 bucks. You say if Sam Keith was there and you say, "Hey, can you do a sketch for me?" $10. No shit. nowadays, nowadays it's turned into such a business, and people are getting hosed. And on Saturday's live stream, I had used Lou Ferrigno as an example, not trying to pick on him, but just as an example. He's been signing autographs since like 1990. There must be a million things with his signature on it. What are they worth? He's charging 60 for an autograph and 60 extra for a selfie. Back when he used to charge 5 for an autograph and the picture would be free if you had a camera. Okay? And if you go to eBay's completed auctions, his certified autographs of Lou Ferrigno's will sell out for $15, $20, $25. Unless Bill Bixby's signature's on it, then it gets big money because Bill Bixby hardly signed anything. And of course, he's gone. He's deceased. Mr. T, free autographs once upon a time. Now, what's he charging? $250 as long as it's a flat surface? Because he's on the circuit. I'm like, wow. Adjusting for inflation, you should go from 5 to about 20 bucks, not 250. Oh my God. But it's turned into such a racket. It's a racket because aftermarket, these prices don't hold up. And again, factoring in, you did not just pay Lou $60 for an autograph at this show. You paid for your ticket price. You paid for your transportation. You paid for your parking if you drove there. You paid for the gas if you drove there. You paid for a hotel room if you stayed there, and so on. How much did you invest? It's a racket. Hell, Stan Lee was signing stuff since the 70s. How much are these signatures really worth? And yeah, as Raccoon points out, they'll charge you extra if you want it personalized. True. But I believe Lou was $60, was 60 60. 60 for a selfie with your own phone, and don't touch him, and 60 for the signature, as long as it's on a flat surface. Whatever. Looking at some of these prices, it's kind of crazy. Kind of crazy. I think oh, who else was there? There's some of these people I don't recognize. Priscilla Presley was there. I think she was charging 100. I'm not sure. 100 for a photo and 70 for an autograph. I think. If Chance was here, he could tell you from Nostalgic Pod Blast because he went to Priscilla's booth, I believe. He went to Priscilla's booth. But my big takeaway from the ATL Comic Convention, I don't think it was that great. The second day, when we went back on Sunday, I wanted to go cosplay hunting. I don't know if any of you guys saw this walkthrough. Some of you were there. A couple of you were there. I figured while I'm here anyways, I'll go ahead and film a walkthrough and look for cosplay. So, okay, this might be interesting because on these shows, and if you go to their website right now, they'll show you this amazing cosplay. But is it at the show? Because I don't really see these people that they show the pictures of in the social media. I said, let's see if we can find some. And I really didn't see cosplay to the caliber of what's always in their social media. I mean, granted, they're going to show you the best of what turned up, but I didn't see anything like what they had pictured. There was a couple of people that were pretty decent. Some of the Star Wars costumes were pretty well done. The Marvin the Marvin the Mandalorian, who I spoke to briefly in the live on Sunday. That was a pretty original idea, and his costume was well done. It would look pretty decent, and that was a collaboration of, by the way, Marvin the Martian from Warner Brothers and the Mandalorian. He had merged the two together into a costume. I was like, all right, that's clever, and it looks decent, you know. A couple of the Star Wars costumes were well done, but for the most part, I don't know what to say. It wasn't of. I'm not trying to pick on these people for their costumes, but it wasn't of the caliber of what you see in the social media. I didn't think so, and I had thrown the question out to the viewing audience, and the people that chimed in agreed. They were like, "Nah, it doesn't look like what you see on the website at all. Didn't look like what you see on the website at all." And so I'm like, okay, just took the opportunity since I was there anyways. And like I said on the Instagram, I'll put up a picture of some of those books I'm working on. You can see a couple of before and afters, war era, World War II era books. I've got a couple of pictures in here of in the phone of the books that I had worked on. Like this is one that's one of the ones I just finished. I don't know if you can see it. There we go. Submariner number 22. I think that's 1946. And that's after working on it. Came out really glossy. It looks great. And what was this one? Submariner number 20. I just finished that one this morning. But I'll put some before and afters up on the website so that people can see. And I do that sometimes so people can see the work. And what else did I do? I did this one. Hold on. It's in the phone. And for some reason, it doesn't want to open the freaking image. Kid Comics number 9. You never see this one. This one is in a slab. I haven't broken the slab open yet. I'll be working on that one later. Got a nice grade bump out of him too. He was looking for a grade bump. He'll get it. He'll get it because they came out really well. And then this one, Silver Surfer #4, classic cover. So yeah, I just came back on Sunday to get those books from dude so that I could work on them for him. Saturday morning wants to know if I have Sergeant Rock action figures or DC Comics Warlord. No, I don't. From Remco, I don't have that. I used to have a set of those like Warlord carded from DC that was part of the collection that was stolen. I did not have Sergeant Rock though, but the Remco Sergeant Rock, I think actually LPH is interested in collecting those because she has a lot of vintage Sergeant Rock comics. And Conquest is here. Thanks for joining us this evening in our impromptu live. Again, it wasn't scheduled, and LPH is not here tonight. She is out of town at a conference for her work. And so let's take a minute really quick, or a minute, an hour, basically, I've been on almost so far, to talk about what's been going on, do a little rundown on the ATL Comic Convention. Robert had wanted to know, he's not here tonight, I don't see him anyways, if I ate anything there. No, I did not eat. Typically, those shows, food's very expensive. We brought our own food. Cheap. But yeah, I don't. They had a lot of food vendors at the ATL Comic Convention. And of course, we discussed for a little while there about Ozzy Osbourne having passed away. And as I had talked about, I had suspected after seeing him that we probably wouldn't see him again unless it was bad news. That's what I had speculated on when he had done the benefit concert. I was like, yeah, the next time we hear about Ozzy, it's not going to be good. We're going to hear he's in a hospice or something. But yeah, this is worse than a hospice, but you get the idea. He's passed on. As well as Malcolm Jamal Warner just recently. Also soon to be gone is this beard. I'm going to remove the beard soon. What do you think of that? I'm going to get rid of the beard soon. My wife had wanted me to grow the beard because she was curious to see how it would come out. And I was fine with that. And I grew the beard out. But now we're getting to a point where it's starting to be a pain in the butt. It's getting in the way. And so I think I'm going to chop it off sometime soon. So you may see me without the beard. You may see the old David again here shortly. And Ray said that Russ Heath's artwork in Sergeant Rock was very good. Yeah, she loves the old war books, especially Gold and Silver Age, LPH, and she's got a ton of Gold and Silver Age war books. I don't know which box it's in. Yeah, like I can pull one of her boxes out right here. I think she has one sitting right here. I see one box marked war books. Well, I can take a look at what's in it. She's got another one down there that says GI Combat. She's got two boxes that say GI Combat. Okay. And Blue Splash said, that's what I do. I bring my own food. Raccoon says it grew so fast, Monkey will miss the beard. Yeah, he probably will. What has she got in here? Oh, she has a hodgepodge of stuff. Is Charlton Comics Fighting 5. Charlton Comics Army. That's a Silver Age. I don't know what's in this box. Like a bunch of Charlton. Charlton made a lot of stuff. Fighting Army. I don't know what kind of order this is in either. Yeah, Charlton, Charlton, Charlton. Oh, here's an Atlas. Blazing Battle Tales. Atlas didn't make very many comics. Number one. Hey, let's see. War is Hell. Got a bunch of Marvel Comics War is Hell here. Yeah, it looks like she's got a. I don't know how many were in the run. There's a bunch of them here. Enemy Ace. So far, a lot of Silver and Bronze Age stuff here. DC Star Spangled War stories. Those had some crazy covers. If you see like this one right here, soldiers fighting dinosaurs and crap. Or this one, ape soldiers. Oh, crazy stuff. Sea monsters. The Star Spangled War stories had some crazy covers. Look at this one. Fighting a guy riding a pterodactyl, shooting a machine gun. Come on. What kid wouldn't want to read that? Enemy Ace versus werewolves. That's some great stuff. Great stuff. Let's see what else we have. Look at that. Unknown Soldier. DC, yeah, a lot of Star Spangled War. She got a ton of them in here. Unknown Soldier. I know she's got a lot of Unknown Soldier. The Saturday Morning said Marvel and DC doing these new crossover one shots and no Sergeant Rock and Sergeant Fury team up. Yeah, no kidding. And Robert's there says doing a live stream Tuesday. Who knew? Too bad about Ozzy and Malcolm Jamal. Always comes in threes. It's yeah, sometimes I've seen it be more than three. You know, I don't like all the crossovers. Actually, I think they overdo that crap. That's all Unknown Soldier. I think the whole rest of this box is Unknown Soldier. It looks like, yeah, the whole rest of this box is Unknown Soldier. She's got tons and tons of war books, but I don't know where they all are. I don't know where they all are. But I don't want to dig everything out here. Now here's some of the older ones. Here's some of her Golden Age ones. In this one, like Marines in Action. And Casey is here. Glad you could make it. War Adventure. Yeah, these are some of the Golden Age. Men's Adventure. Dynamite Joe. That's Silver Age. Harvey Comics. No Casper in this. Fighting Air Force. That's Golden Age. War is Hell on the War Front. Who is that one? That's Golden Age. from Thrill Adventure Comics. She got a few of these. Lightning Comics, giant size, Todd Holton, the Super Green Beret. I would say so. Look at this guy go. Holy crap. And jumping off a parachute, too. That is nuts. That looks Silver Age, though. Good Lord. No, Robert, it's not going to be the new place for live stream. I'm just doing an impromptu live tonight. Bomba and the Jungle Boy and Nightmare. Oh, that's not a war comic. That's just something else. Impromptu live tonight while LPH is out of town. I don't think any. I think that might be it for war books in this sleeve. But yeah, she's got tons of that stuff. She loves the covers on these, and there's some great artwork in some of these older books. Great artwork. But yeah, she's out of town at a conference for her job, and I wanted to talk about Ozzy and talk about the ATL Comic Convention. So I did. And Casey says, loved Sergeant Rock, remember heroes and action figures. Yeah, Remco, the Remco figures. John says, if she decides to sell the war military comic collection, keep me in mind. I don't know about that. She doesn't, yeah, we don't sell things that often, rarely. We don't sell things that often. But she has a pretty sizable collection of Gold and Silver Age war books. Gold and Silver Age war books. But and I don't know if she has any more. I know she has more, but I don't know where they are because not all the boxes that are back there are marked. There's a ton of short boxes right behind the camera here that you can't see that I'm looking at. So there you are. There you are. But yeah, big fan of that. Big fan of really, I mean, I wish I had more Gold and Silver Age stuff. Gold, silver, and bronze. Bronze Age is like the new Silver Age right now. Space Knight says in the intros to many of the videos you show a wall of comics amongst the toys. Was that a part of your toy room setup? Yeah, it was. It was. Because those are my books. Some of my books, they're around here somewhere. And right here on the spinner rack, I've got the Journey into Mysteries and Thors. And then she's got romance on one side. So there's some of her romance books right there. And then a bunch of her Golden Age crime books. These are all Golden Age crime. Real Clue, Perfect Crime, Wanted, Headline Comics, Joe Palooka, which is actually a war book. And then over here, I've got a bunch of, and these are mine again, a bunch of Batman and Detective comics, including some Golden Age stuff on the spinner rack for display. And we've only got 1 and 1. We didn't double and triple those up. We don't like doing that. That's LPH right there. Hi, LPH.
Hey, how you doing?
You know I'm on the live stream.
Oh no, I didn't know. Why didn't you say something?
Didn't you get a prompt?
No.
Everybody's listening to you.
Oh. All right, then. Hey, everybody. I know Robert is there, and I'm pretty sure Kim Union is there. So, hey to all of y'all.
Yeah, Robert is here.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, I'll talk to you later then.
All right.
All right,
Bye. There you go. There you go. Robert says not all Thor. No. Oh, no. Actually, all of those Journey into Mysteries are with Thor that are on that rack. And then the other rack over there, you can't see it. That's the other display rack, the other red one, and that's like a end of the register type comic rack from back in the day because they're both vintage racks. I've got on the top there and on the third shelf are all books that I worked on. Most of it is books that I worked on. Slabs that stuff that I had regraded, that I cracked open and pressed and cleaned, stuff like that. Robert wants to know about Indiana Jones. I got a couple of Indiana Jones. I do have a couple. But other books that I opened up and did work on, again, pressed and because I do press and clean, like my Ghost Rider and my Detective with Batgirl. But I can't put slabs in the spinner rack; they're too wide. You know, they're too wide. Like these, first appearance of Batgirl, and that was a 3, and I bumped it to a 5.5. And then Ghost Rider #1, which was like 5.5, and I bumped it to a 7.5. I don't get a lot of stuff graded though. And then a Chance was here because he's not here tonight. I don't see him. I could show him that, and that would flip him out. And that's Space Giants #1 because he loves the Space Giants. That's a really rare book, actually. Space Giants. But yeah, I guess LPH did not get the memo that I am live. That I am live. She's just bored. She's bored because she's at that conference. And you know, it's a work related thing, so it's one of those things you have to do. Saturday Morning wants to know if I have He-Man Secret of the Sword comic adaptation, the first She-Ra in comics. I don't think so. I don't think I have that. And Robert wants to know who's the first Ant-Man. I don't remember off the top of my head what book that was. I don't remember the first Ant-Man. That's the first Jokerfish. Minor Key, first appearance of the Jokerfish there on the bottom, and then another Minor Key, the first cover appearance of Vicky Vale. See, first Jokerfish. I know, big deal, right? It's just it is what it is. And then that one is Golden Age. Batman #79, first cover appearance of Vicky Vale. Getting ditched by Batman because they're supposed to be on the date. Space Knight wanted to know how long it took to become proficient presser of comics. Well, I mean, I didn't start out doing that with comics. I started out actually doing book restoration. like in the 90s, and it's similar. And so when I do it, it's different. It's different than when a lot of people do it. I don't do restoration because that's kind of that's really cheating. I don't do restoration, but I will do a decent clean and press. And John wants to know uh, how much do I charge? It depends on how much actual work has to be done, because I'm fairly cheap by comparison, but I don't go too overboard with, you know, because a lot of the pressing agencies will charge you based on the value of the book, and I don't think that's fair. I don't think it's fair to do that. I think it should be based on how much actual effort you're going to put into the book. And also, a lot of those agencies don't actually do any detailed work on the book. They're not going to do detailed cleaning, and they're not going to use any kind of moisture when pressing the book. And if you really want to get the lines and creases out of it, it's got to have moisture exposed to it. All right. And they're cheating people. CGC, places like that, are cheating people. They're taking a magic eraser and rubbing the cover, oh, you're clean, and then putting it dry into a press, and it's only doing half the job, and it's not fair. And then if the book is worth a lot, they're going to charge a lot for it. I talked to a guy from Canada that was like, he sent 4 books to CGC that were quite valuable, and they charged him, I think he said $2,800 for cleaning and pressing, and they didn't look good. They did not look good. I didn't think they did a good job. I was like, dude, I would have done it for you for $100 a shot. Not trying to be evil, but you know what I mean. But yeah, John is asking because he says he's got a Power Man and Iron Fist that could use a pressing. Extremely fragile. How fragile are we talking about? I got to be careful because just for, and they raw Armentia says Tales to Astonish number 35, Ant-Man's first appearance. There you go. There you go. Hank Pym. But it depends. If it's a lot of detail cleaning, like this one, the Joker building, that's a famous cover. The white part of this was about as dark as Batman's tights, and I spent an hour and a half cleaning every brick one at a time, every brick, every tooth, and the letters in Batman to get this white again. So I mean, for a basic clean and a press, like $25 plus the postage. For something like that, where I'm going to be spending that much time, $40 or $50, because it's going to cost more. Or if I've got to break open a slab, might be an extra $15. You know what I mean? And Robert wants to know if that would work for movie posters. Yeah, I mean, that's basically what they do. Although with movie posters, they give it a bath first. It's a thicker grade of paper. They submerge it in water, and then yeah, they run it into a big press, basically. And Eric loves those book covers. He said, been looking lower grade Batman keys pre 300. Pre 300. Space Knight wants to know what brand of machine I use. I don't remember the model number. It's a 15 by 15 because it's basically a shirt press. It's basically a shirt press because they don't. But I don't remember specifically who manufactured the one that what I'm using right now upstairs. And John says it's been kept in a thick plastic airtight container for 40 years without seeing any light except once a year. Robert wants to know if I read them once I press them. If I'm going to read them, I'll read them before I press them. I'll read it before I press it, not after. Not after. Like this one. I read this one before I pressed it, and this is Batman number 54. Batman number 54. Nice bright red color on there. I had to be real careful because the type of paper, it's different than later comics. And if you drip water on that by accident, it's going to make a big white spot. It'll just spread. So you got to slow down the process a little bit because you got to steam it. And this one is a really interesting issue because Golden Age Batman hits different than Silver Age. With the Golden Age Batman in this book, there's a story where a man sees another man that looks like him and follows him around for months to learn as much as he can about him and then kills him so he can take his place. Batman figures it out and catches him eventually. But yeah, I mean, he murdered somebody so that he could take over his life because they looked the same. And I'm like, yeah, that's brutal. Yeah, that one pressed really nice. That's a pretty book. And then this one, I had to be really careful with doing the cleaning and pressing. Is this the one that I'm thinking of? This is a wartime book, so there's only one staple. And actually, CGC is famous for messing these up. The wartime World War II era books that have a single staple, it's not even centered, it's a little high. Separating the covers by accident, accidentally tearing them free from the staple. CGC does it all the time. It's like, God, slow down the process a little bit, will you? But I've heard a lot of horror stories about that. Space Knight said, even starting with low value books, it must take a bit of time to get used to it. Yeah, you got to be really careful. It's easy to screw it up, especially if you are going to use moisture, but you're not going to get a good pressing unless you use moisture. You've got to wet the book. And it's got to be, I use a dry cleaning steamer so I can evenly distribute moisture so that there's no dripping. But you got to be mindful because every once in a while that sucker will spit. And if it spits, you're going to get water drops. And if you get water drops on the book, it'll leave a ring. So if it did spit, I got a hair dryer on standby so I can dry it real fast because then there won't be a water spot. So you got to really know what you're doing. And Migo Matt is here. He said, would you ever do a video showing us a pressing and cleaning? I did a long time ago. Saturday Morning wants to know about Dell Disney or Dell Hanna-Barbera or Four Color Comics. Yeah, I got a lot of that stuff. I've got a lot of that stuff. I don't know if I got any down here. I got some I worked on in the side rack. Let me see if I can spot a couple down here. If I can remember. I don't know if I got it here. Gold Key Flintstones. That one was a tough one to press. But I have a few here that I did work on. If I can, like I said, if I still have it down here, if I can find them. So I'll press anything that I like just to stay in practice. And some of them are actually pretty rare books. even if they're not valuable. But I don't really care. I'll do it anyways. Let me see here. Here's a couple of examples. I did these not too long ago. It's Archie's Madhouse. Hold on. Let me take that off the Archie's Madhouse. Star Comics Get Along Gang, #1. These Star Comics are getting tough to find. Casper's Spaceship #1 from Harvey. Here's a Golden Age Walt Disney. And that's another one. Is that a wartime? No, it's got 2 staples. Gold Key, the Flintstones. Space Knight wants to know about the Captain Power toy line. Are they making a new one? My wife's got Captain Power. Oh, no. Oh, I know who you're talking about. No, I'm thinking of Captain Planet. Captain Power was an interesting toy line. It's not that expensive. Captain Power is still fairly inexpensive. It was that that action figure line that went with the TV show, and you could interact with the show by shooting at the screen. And yeah, again, except for the base, I think the base is expensive. The base is expensive, but the rest of the toy line's fairly cheap. It never really caught on. So you can still get Captain Power for a fairly decent price, Captain Power action figures. And it's got its historic value, again, being an interactive television show that you could play with the show, shooting at the TV screen. I like that. And Robert says LPH doesn't like Archie. Not really. Not really. She doesn't care for the Archie too much. I had another box sitting here, I thought. I'm trying to remember where the hell it is. That had some other stuff I worked on just recently, if I can remember where the hell it is. Because I do a lot of the pressings, and I press a lot of my own books. But I don't know where again, we just moved here recently. And a few things are still out of order. Yeah, I don't think this is it. This might be the box. Let's see. Oh yeah, I got some real oddballs in here that I pressed in this one. Let me see. And what Migo says, does pressing have any effect on creases? Does it improve them at all? Yes. If it's a again, if you steam press it, you'll get that line out. If it's a color breaking line, you'll still see the line, but it'll be flat. If it's not color breaking, you can completely press that line all the way out so that you no longer see it. Let me see what I got here. Silver Age Archie's joke book. That came out real nice. And who else have I got down in here? I'll try to see if I can find something that's really interesting. Oh, there you go. Gold Key King Kong. That's a good one. Oh, I got a whole line of Sergeant Furies that I had done. Here's a couple of them. These came out real nice. I know books that aren't typically worth a whole hell of a lot, but in this kind of shape, you know. Look at this one. That's silver? Oh, Dell Comics Howdy Doody. Dell Comics Howdy Doody. Living Mummy. That's a wall book now. You see that Living Mummy all over the place. Here you go, J Evil Scientist. You gotta love J Evil Scientist, right? Croft Super Shell. You don't see these very often at all. Gold Key Total War. Great covers on these. Great covers on these. Oh, yeah. Ghostly Weird Stories. This one, I ended up pressing this one like 3 times. It was completely covered with dots. There was like someone had a pen and was just stabbing the comic. There were clusters. There must have been 150 dents all across the cover from somebody stabbing it, but they weren't color breaking. They were just dents, little circular dents. I got every one of them out of there. I pressed them out. And that's an LB Cole cover. Golden Age horror. Woody Woodpecker. Yeah, a bunch more of the Sergeant Furies. And again, these, they just came out so clean. They came out so clean. They look great. And there's some great covers on those as well. There's one, if I see it in here in particular, I think it's the Soldier Coming Home for Christmas. Yeah, see? Great covers. So I flipped through. Like I said, I got some nice little oddballs in here. And again, some of them aren't worth a fortune, but I like them. Because it's not a really high value isn't necessarily my criteria for whether or not I'll press and clean a book. Like here's an oddball for you. Astro Comics with Casper, and this is Bronze Age. This is a comic book that they would give away free to children on American Airlines in like the early 70s. Again, not worth a fortune, but I like it. I think it's just different. It's unusual. Don't know what else I have in here. Some Marvel Godzillas. Oh yeah, there we go. First Silver Age Catwoman. Strange Mysteries #7 Golden Age. This one looked like a rolled up newspaper when I got it. That came out really nice. And then best new cartoons. What number was this? 3. And Robert says, is Sergeant Fury related to Nick Fury? He is Nick Fury. He started out as Sergeant Fury, and then he became Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. Migo wants to know, does the pressing penetrate all the way through the comic, getting all the pages and back cover too? Yes. If done properly, it'll go all the way through the book without having to take the book apart, because I don't open staples. That's restoration. And I do not do restoration. I won't do that. So yeah, it should penetrate all the way through the book. Which is also why you put moisture. So if you had a crease, and I see that sometimes, it goes all the way through the book, then you'll want to steam every page, and then that takes longer. That takes longer. Saturday said the Richie Rich's Casper joke is killed with that cover. And Casey's got to go. Well, glad you could join us, Casey. Glad you could join us this evening. And actually, I've got some things I need to do because it's like 8:37 here. So I'll go ahead and sign off. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. And Kip is here. You have to come see me Saturday. Kip, are you you're going to be at the Gatson? I'm not sure if we're going to make it. But yeah, I believe that's Gatson, right? Tell people what table you're going to be at. I think that's what he's talking about. And I'll hang on here for a second so you can put that up. But I'm going to sign off here in a minute because I got a few things to do. And Kip says he has the entire back corner at Gatson. Okay. If any of you are going to be in the Gatson, check them out. Again, I don't know if we're going to make it, to the Gatson Comic Convention or not. So I don't want to make any commitments that I'm not sure. But I'll go ahead and sign off. Hey, thanks everybody. Glad you could join us this evening. Hope you had a good time. And we will do this again soon.